these are all the people that were involved in this process. So kind of, and I put them in order of clearly most important. Um, uh, uh, Thank you. But also in terms of kind of chronology, in terms of how they kind of came into the process. So my wife and I were talking about this for a long time. She also sang backup on the album. Charlie Christensen was my graduate advisor for McNally Smith. He's an amazing artist, and I would encourage you highly to look at his stuff, especially for those of you who like independent artist music. Like, he's got some good stuff. Gary Rue was my songwriting professor from McNally Smith. Amazing songwriter. Does a lot of musical theater stuff, but he's an amazing artist. And then if we keep on scrolling down, Sean Parker was my voice instructor at McNally Smith. And the three of those guys, Charlie, Sean, and Gary, were a part of my faculty committee that kind of like oversaw the project from the academic side of things. And I'll tell you, remind me next week to tell you their reaction to the project when I showed up in St. Paul for the tour. George was my producer, and we got into the mix with that probably in February of 2015. Over on the next side, John committed to tracking drums right away, and we started tracking with him in July?
It was July.
July. We started in July. Dr. Harris tracked all of the horns for the album. We actually started tracking horns with George, and then I heard Courtney practicing one day, and I was like, let's get Courtney in here. This will be a good thing. Yeah. And so we called Courtney in, and he was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, awesome. And he showed up, and we're just going to start arranging. And I mean, he brought in every instrument.
Everything.
Trumpet,
Saxophone.
trombone, flugel, sax. He brought in the jingle bells. I mean,
he has everything.
He's got everything. So, and he did it all. And he also sang backup a little bit on Shine. Lee England Jr. Is a friend of yours. Talk about him.
Man, this dude's ridiculous. He has 3 music degrees from Southern Illinois University. 3.
Wow.
3 music degrees from Southern Illinois. He's classically trained. Ridiculous. He does like any genre of music. He can play fiddle. He does like right now he tours the world with the Jordan brand. Michael Jordan, it's one of his guys. He tours with him and does a lot of his events and pretty much has played for everybody. He got nominated for a Grammy for a string arrangement he did for Jason Derulo last year.
Has he done some television? He looks familiar.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. You've probably seen him.
He's an exquisite player.
He's ridiculous. Right now, he's managed by Quincy Jones. So, yeah.
And so this is this guy, right? And here's me with my like humble orchestrations. I'm like, so maybe just tell him to kind of change it, how he feels. But you know what? He didn't. He didn't change any arrangements, which I was really like humbled by, because my arrangements are not like what he can play. But he tracked all the violins, all the violas, and all the cellos himself.
It's a lot.
The songs that have strings on the album are
Like 4 apiece.
Empty Chair, and that's got a pretty robust string section. Christ the Lord, This Christmas. There's one more, Hark the Herald. And Hark the Herald was probably the most expansive in terms of the strings.
It's all strings.
It's all strings.
So it's like 4 each? That's a lot.
Well, Empty Chair is 2 violas and a viola and 2 cellos. That's that song. But it bleeds into Hark the Herald, which is like
Massive.
first and second violin, first and second viola, and a cello.
Stacked.
Yeah. So that's the strings. So those are not MIDI strings on that album. Erin was my photographer. She did all of the photo work for the album as well as for my brand. And then she also sang backup along with Morier. So the female vocals that you hear on the album are Morier and Aaron.
She's got an amazing voice.
She sure does. And then Nolan Tarantino is my webmaster. I've known this guy since 2000. He's awesome. He's good friends with John and Aaron. He lives in Belgium with his family. He's a missionary.
He is? Did I know that?
You do now.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's kind of like James Franco.
Yeah.
that's weird.
And so he, doesn't, design, but he does. And so he made the album artwork. And those are the people that were.
I'm sure I played Cowbell on Shine. It's kind of upset.
Cowbell.
Peter did play cowbell on Shine. Yes, he did.
Stand up and bow.
So those are the individuals that were a part of the project as a whole, from the administrative side as well as the tracking. And then the last bit is just kind of a list of the production stuff that we used for the sessions. So it is 2:15. I know people need to go. Are there any questions that we can answer for you at all?